The courtroom doors burst open like a thunderclap, splitting the sky. Everyone turns. The mayor's daughter strides in like she owns the building, designer heels clicking against marble floors like a countdown to chaos. She doesn't sit. She doesn't wait. She plants herself in the center of the room, arms crossed, chin lifted, wearing that smirk that makes grown men nervous and women furious. Her blonde hair falls perfectly over her shoulders, not a strand out of place. Her outfit screams money, privilege, and the absolute certainty that rules were written for other people. She laughs. Not a polite chuckle, a sharp, cutting sound that echoes off the walls like a warning shot. Then she points directly at Judge Judy, eyes glinting with something between amusement and contempt, and whispers loud enough for everyone to hear. Laws are for common people. The room goes dead silent. Not the quiet of respect, the quiet of shock. Even the bailiff freezes mid-step, unsure whether he should intervene or brace for the explosion. The fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting harsh shadows across faces that have just witnessed something unforgivable. Judge Judy doesn't flinch. She doesn't raise her voice. She leans forward instead, elbows resting on her bench, eyes locked on the girl like a hawk spotting prey that doesn't know it's already caught. Her expression isn't angry. It's worse. It's calm. Dangerous calm. The kind that precedes storms. Say that again, she says softly. I dare you. The girl's smirk flickers. Just for a second. A tiny crack in the armor of entitlement she's worn her entire life. But she recovers quickly, tossing her hair back like she's dismissing a minor inconvenience. You heard me. I said what everyone's thinking. Some of us don't have to play by the same rules as everyone else. My father built this city. He protects people like me. Judge Judy tilts her head slightly, studying her the way a scientist studies a specimen that's about to reveal its weaknesses. Behind the girl, the victim sits small and trembling. A young grocery store cashier named Sarah, barely 22, wearing the same faded uniform she wore to work that day when everything changed. Her hands are clasped so tightly in her lap that her knuckles have turned white. She hasn't looked up since the mayor's daughter walked in. She doesn't need to. She remembers every word, every sneer, every moment of public humiliation that made her question whether she mattered at all. The mayor's daughter notices the direction of Judy's gaze and scoffs. Oh, please, she made a scene. I simply reminded her who she was talking to. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Not outrage exactly, recognition, the kind that says we've seen this before. We know this type. The rich kid who believes the world is their personal playground and everyone else exists to serve them. Judge Judy taps the folder in front of her once. A light sound, but it lands like a hammer in the silence. Interesting, she says, because this file suggests otherwise. The mayor's daughter's eyes follow the folder, and for the first time, something shifts in her expression. Not fear exactly. Anticipation of fear. The awareness that something she doesn't know is about to be revealed. She shifts her weight from one expensive heel to the other, her confidence wavering like a candle in wind. What's in there? She demands, trying to sound bored. Judge Judy doesn't answer immediately. She lets the silence stretch, lets the tension build, lets the girl feel the weight of not knowing. That uncertainty is punishment enough for now. Finally, Judy speaks, her voice steady as a surgeon's hand. This, she says, tapping the folder again, contains your history. Not the history your father paid to bury. The real one. The girl's face tightens. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't you? Judy's eyes narrow, not with anger, but with the precision of someone who has already seen through every lie. Because according to these records, this is not your first incident. The girl scoffs, but the sound comes out hollow. People exaggerate. They love taking shots at me. It comes with being who I am. Being who you are, Judy repeats slowly, should not exempt you from being decent. The words land like stones dropped into still water, sending ripples through the courtroom. Several people in the audience nod subtly. They've heard this excuse before. They've used it themselves when confronted with their own privilege. The mayor's daughter catches the reaction and her jaw tightens. This isn't going the way she planned. She expected deference. She expected fear. She expected the judge to be intimidated by her father's name. Instead, she is facing someone who seems completely unimpressed by power that makes everyone else bow. Judy turns a page in the folder, the rustle of paper sounding like a gavel in the quiet. Complaint from a school librarian. Alleged verbal abuse during a late book dispute. Complaint from a restaurant server. Alleged threats after receiving incorrect order. Complaint from a crossing guard. Goodness, Judy says, eyebrows rising. That's a new one. Physical intimidation of a city employee. The girl's face flushes. Those were misunderstandings. People twist things? No, Judy replies softly. People report? She gestures towards Sarah, the cashier, who finally lifts her head, eyes red but determined. And today, one of them found the courage to show up. Sarah's voice emerges as barely a whisper. I didn't want to cause trouble. But when she screamed at me in front of all those customers, when she called me worthless, when she told me people like me should know our place, I just froze. Her breath catches, tears threatening to spill. I was just trying to do my job. The mayor's daughter lets out a humorless laugh. You're being dramatic. I didn't scream. I barely raised my voice. You pointed directly in my face, Sarah says, her voice gaining strength. You told me I would regret breathing the same air as you. You said your father would make sure I never worked in the city again. The courtroom erupts in murmurs. Even the bailiff turns his head, expression hardening. The mayor's daughter's mask cracks for a full second. Her eyes flare with something between panic and rage. She tries to recover with a dismissive shrug. She's lying. She's exaggerating for sympathy. Judy tilts her head, studying her with an expression that's both gentle and lethal. Is she? The question hangs in the air like smoke. Because your tone suggests a familiarity with that kind of insult. You've used it before. You've practiced it. It's not anger that makes you speak that way. It's habit. The audience stirs, leaning forward collectively. The mayor's daughter breaks eye contact for the first time, looking anywhere but at the judge. Her confidence is crumbling, brick by brick, and she doesn't know how to stop it. Judy closes the folder halfway and rests her hand on it, her expression shifting to something calmer, heavier, colder. Tell me, she says, did your father teach you that laws are only for common people? The girl stiffens visibly. Color drains from her cheeks, leaving her pale as winter snow. I never said that in court. You said it, Judy replies, lifting the folder slightly to reveal a page beneath. A page the girl clearly recognizes from the way her entire body goes rigid. A page she never expected to see again. Judy slides it forward just enough for her to see the words she spoke, captured in writing, undeniable and permanent. Then let us talk about where that attitude truly began. The mayor's name hangs in the air like a curse. The courtroom transforms instantly. The casual tension becomes something sharper, more dangerous. Everyone knows who the mayor is. Everyone knows his influence. And everyone is watching to see if even Judge Judy can stand against that kind of power. The girl's breathing quickens. She opens her mouth, maybe to deny, maybe to deflect, but before she can speak, a knock sounds at the side door. A clerk enters with an envelope in hand, urgency written across her features. Your Honor, she says, voice tight. This just arrived from city administration. The mayor's daughter goes pale as paper. Her arrogance, her confidence, her carefully constructed world all begin to tremble at the edges. Because she knows. She knows exactly what that envelope contains. And so does everyone else in the room. Asterisk. The envelope lands on Judge Judy's bench with a soft thud that echoes through the courtroom like a gunshot. The mayor's daughter watches it the way a prisoner watches the executioner's approach. Her hands grip the edge of her chair so tightly the leather creaks in protest. Judge Judy examines the envelope with the calm precision of someone who has seen countless attempts to manipulate the system and has never been fooled by any of them. City administration, she murmurs, turning it over to examine the seal. Interesting timing. The girl swallows hard. I don't know what that is. Of course you don't, Judy replies, her voice carrying just enough skepticism to make the girl wince. She slides a finger beneath the seal and tears it open with deliberate slowness. The rustle of paper fills the silence like a held breath. Inside, several documents slide out. Official letterhead, stamps, signatures. Asterisk. Judy scans them with eyes that miss nothing. Her expression shifting by degrees from curiosity to concern to something colder. Asterisk. The mayor's daughter shifts in her seat, unable to look away from the papers that seem to carry her fate. This, Judy announces, her voice steady as stone, is a formal request from the mayor's office to delay today's proceedings. The courtroom murmurs. The girl's face flushes with something between relief and renewed confidence. See, she begins. My father is just trying to make sure everything is handled properly. Properly, Judy repeats, her tone sharpening. Is that what we're calling it? She lifts one document, reading aloud. Request to reschedule hearing due to insufficient notice and potential procedural irregularities. She sets that one aside and picks up another. Follow-up communication emphasizing the importance of protecting the reputation of public officials and their families during legal proceedings. The girl's relief evaporates. That's not what it sounds like. It's just standard procedure. Standard procedure, Judy says, tapping the papers, does not include pressuring court administrators to find reasons to delay cases involving your family. The girl opens her mouth to protest, but Judy continues, her voice gaining weight. According to the clerk who delivered this, your father's office made 3 separate calls this morning alone. 3 calls before this hearing even began, attempting to influence the outcome. The victim, Sarah, shifts in her seat. Her eyes, red from earlier tears, now widen with disbelief. She came here expecting to be ignored, expecting the system to protect the powerful as it always had. Instead, she's watching that protection crumble in real time. The mayor's daughter's composure fractures further. Her voice rises, cracking. I didn't ask him to do this. I didn't even know he was involved. Did you not? Judy asks, her voice deceptively soft. Or did you simply choose not to ask? The question lands like a slap. The girl's hands tremble as she tries to form a response. The truth is somewhere in that silence. The truth that she knew. The truth that she always knew her father would step in. That's why she wasn't afraid. That's why she walked in here like she owned the place. Because she believed, deep down, that she always had a safety net. Judy sets the documents down and leans back slightly, giving the girl room to breathe, but not to escape. Let me tell you something about power, she says. True power doesn't need to hide behind phone calls and delays and buried records. True power stands in the light and faces consequences. The girl's lower lip trembles. I never wanted to be powerful. I just didn't want to be weak. And there it is. The crack in the armor that reveals what's underneath. Not a villain. Not a monster. Just a girl who was taught that weakness means destruction and strength means never showing pain. Judy's expression softens, just slightly. That fear, she says, is what made you cruel. But fear is not an excuse. It's an explanation. And explanations don't erase harm. The girl nods slowly, tears beginning to pool in her eyes. I know I hurt her. I know I've hurt people before, but I didn't know how to stop. Before Judy can respond, the side door opens again. A young man steps in, wearing a simple uniform with a badge clipped to his belt. He carries a phone in his hand, and his expression carries the weight of someone who has made a difficult choice. The mayor's daughter sees him, and her face drains of all remaining color. Your Honor, the young man says, his voice steady despite the tension in the room. My name is Marcus Chun. I work security at the grocery store where this incident occurred. I have footage. The courtroom stills. Judy gestures for him to approach. Please come forward. Marcus walks to the clerk's station and hands over his phone. The clerk connects it to the courtroom's display system, and suddenly, the screen flickers to life. The image that appears makes the mayor's daughter's breath catch in her throat. There she is. Caught on camera. Her face inches from Sarah's, finger pointing like a weapon, mouth twisted with contempt. The audio isn't perfect, but it doesn't need to be. Her voice cuts through the silence, sharp and unmistakable. Do you even understand who you're talking to? The real girl in the courtroom flinches as though struck. On screen, she continues her tirade, escalating with every word. You'll regret this. People like you always regret stepping out of line. Sarah on the screen looks terrified. Sarah in the courtroom closes her eyes, reliving the moment, her breath trembling. The footage continues, showing the mayor's daughter storming away and deliberately knocking over a display of merchandise in a final burst of spite. The crash echoes through the speakers, a punctuation mark on her cruelty. When the video ends, the silence that follows is deafening. Not the silence of shock, but the silence of truth finally undeniable. Judy looks at the girl, not at the screen. Do you still believe this was an overreaction? She asks quietly. The mayor's daughter has no answer. Her earlier confidence has evaporated, replaced by something raw and exposed. She looks around the courtroom desperately, searching for allies who aren't there. Her father isn't here to save her. Her money can't buy her way out of this moment. For the first time in her life, she stands alone with the consequences of her actions. I didn't mean, she starts, but the words die in her throat. What? Judy prompts. What didn't you mean? The girl's voice cracks. I didn't mean to make her feel worthless. I just wanted her to understand that she couldn't treat me like everyone else. And why not? Judy asks. Why shouldn't she treat you like everyone else? The girl's mouth opens and closes. No response comes. Because deep down, she knows the answer. She knows that treating everyone equally would mean facing the same standards she spent her life avoiding. And that terrifies her more than any courtroom ever could. Asterisk, the video footage still glows on the screen behind Judge Judy, a permanent record of cruelty that cannot be edited or explained away. The mayor's daughter sits frozen, her designer clothes suddenly feeling like a costume that no longer fits. The persona she cultivated, the shield of privilege she wielded like a sword, has been stripped away frame by frame. What remains is a young woman confronting herself for the first time. Judge Judy doesn't gloat. She doesn't smirk. She simply watches with the patient understanding of someone who has witnessed countless moments of reckoning and knows exactly how fragile they can be. The side door creaks open again, and this time a different figure enters. A young woman, perhaps a year or two older than the mayor's daughter, clutching a sack of papers that have been folded and refolded until the edges fray. Her eyes are red-rimmed, not from crying in this moment, but from the weight of decisions made in the dark hours of the night. The mayor's daughter sees her, and something in her expression shifts from fear to betrayal. Marissa, she whispers. What are you doing here? Marissa Collins approaches the witness stand slowly, each step carrying the echo of a friendship that died long before this moment. She doesn't look at her former best friend. Not yet. First, she addresses Judge Judy. Your Honor, my name is Marissa Collins. I was present during the incident at the grocery store. I've also brought documentation of communications that I believe are relevant to this case. The courtroom watches with collective breath held. The mayor's daughter's hands grip her chair arms, knuckles whitening. Marissa, please. We talked about this. We were supposed to handle this privately. Marissa finally turns to look at her, and the pain in her eyes is unmistakable. We talked, she says quietly. You talked. I listened. For years I listened. And every time you hurt someone, I made excuses. I told myself you didn't mean it. I told myself you were just stressed, just misunderstood, just reacting to people who didn't appreciate you. Her voice cracks. But I was lying to myself. And I was lying to everyone else. Judge Judy gestures for Marissa to continue. Tell us what you witnessed that day. Marissa takes a deep breath. I was with her when we entered the store. She was already agitated about something unrelated. When the cashier, she nods toward Sarah, took a moment longer than expected to process her payment, she snapped. Not just complained, snapped, like the cashier was beneath her notice. The mayor's daughter shakes her head. That's not how it happened. You're twisting it, am I? Marissa asks, her voice gaining strength. Because I have your messages right here. She lifts the stack of papers. Messages you sent me after the incident. Messages where you bragged about putting that girl in her place. The girl's face drains of color. Those were private. You can't use those. Judy's gaze silences her instantly. Private messages, she says, become evidence when they reveal intent and pattern. Marissa steps forward and hands the documents to the clerk. Judy begins reading, her voice carrying through the courtroom with devastating clarity. I put that girl in her place. That should think twice before challenging someone like me. Another message. My dad will handle it if she tries anything. Nobody messes with us and gets away with it. The mayor's daughter reaches out, as if she can physically stop the words from landing. Stop. Please stop reading those. Asterisk. They weren't meant for anyone else to see. They weren't meant for you to see, Judy agrees. But they reveal what you truly believed. And that belief that you were untouchable is exactly what brought you here today. Marissa's voice trembles as she continues. I covered for her before. Multiple times. I told teachers she didn't mean what she said. I told store managers she was just having a bad day. I told myself I was being a good friend. But every time I did, she hurt someone else. And I let it happen. The mayor's daughter's face crumples. You were supposed to be on my side? I was. Marissa's voice breaks. That's the problem. Being on your side meant being against everyone you hurt. And I can't do that anymore. The courtroom absorbs this confession in stunned silence. This isn't just about one incident anymore. This is about a pattern. A system. A family that taught its daughter that the rules of ordinary life didn't apply to her. Judy looks at the stack of papers still in her hands. Is there anything else in these messages, Miss Collins? Marissa hesitates, then nods. Yes, one more thing. She told me after the incident that her father promised her she would never face real consequences, that he would always make sure of it, that she was above all of this. Her voice softens to barely a whisper. She believed him. The mayor's daughter collapses back into her seat, her carefully constructed world finally crumbling. The audience watches in silence, some with judgment, some with pity, all with the recognition that they are witnessing something larger than a single case. They are witnessing the collapse of a belief system built on fear and privilege. Judy sets the papers down and addresses the girl directly. Your father told you that you were special, that you were chosen, that the world owed you deference simply because of who you were born to. The girl doesn't respond. She can't. The tears streaming down her face say everything. And so you believe that hurting people was acceptable, that humiliating those beneath you was your right, that consequences were for other people. The girl's shoulders shake with silent sobs. I didn't know how to be different, she finally whispers. He told me weakness would destroy us. He told me people would use any sign of vulnerability against us. So I became hard. I became cruel. Because I thought that was the only way to survive. The victim, Sarah, watches this unraveling with conflicted eyes. The woman who humiliated her, who made her feel worthless in front of strangers, is now falling apart. And somehow, that doesn't feel like victory. It feels like witnessing a tragedy. Judy leans forward, her voice gentler now, but no less firm. What your father taught you was not strength. It was armor. And armor, no matter how thick, cannot protect you from yourself forever. The girl looks up, eyes red and swollen. What do I do? She asks, and the question is raw, desperate, genuine. For the first time, she's not asking how to escape consequences. She's asking how to become someone different. Before Judy can answer, another knock sounds at the door. The clerk enters once more, carrying a sealed envelope marked urgent. The mayor's daughter watches it approach with the expression of someone who has run out of ways to be surprised. Whatever comes next, she knows, will be another piece of her old life dying. And part of her, the part that's finally awake, is ready for it. The envelope lands on Judge Judy's bench, like the final card in the game everyone knew she would win. The mayor's daughter stares at it, her breathing shallow, her hands trembling in her lap. She doesn't ask what's inside. She doesn't need to. The pattern is clear now. Every time she thought she had control, the truth found a way to surface. Judge Judy opens the envelope with the same deliberate calm she's maintained throughout the hearing. Inside, a single document. Official letterhead. Multiple signatures. The kind of paper that carries weight in places where power is supposed to be accountable. Judy reads silently, her expression shifting through several emotions: concern, disappointment, and finally, something that looks almost like grim satisfaction. This, she announces, comes from the city's ethics committee. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. The mayor's daughter sits up straighter, fear and hope warring in her expression. The committee has reviewed the documents presented today, along with additional information submitted by city employees who chose to come forward. Judy pauses, letting the weight of those words settle. They have determined that the mayor's office engaged in systematic obstruction of this proceeding. Multiple attempts to delay, dismiss, or influence the outcome of this case have been documented and verified. The girl's face falls. But my father, he was just trying to protect me. Protect you, Judy repeats. Or protect himself. She lifts the document, reading a highlighted section aloud. Internal memo, dated 3 days after the grocery store incident. Quote, ensure all proceedings against my daughter are diverted, softened, or eliminated completely. She is not to face public scrutiny under any circumstances. The courtroom gasps. The girl covers her face with her hands, shoulders shaking. He never told me it was like this. He just said he was handling things. Handling things, Judy says, is not the same as manipulating the legal system to avoid accountability. There's a difference between a parent advocating for their child and a public official using their position to obstruct justice. The girl's sobs grow louder, less controlled. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know the extent of it. You may not have known the details, Judy replies, but you knew the result. You knew that every time you faced consequences, they disappeared. You knew that your father's name opened doors that should have remained closed. Asterisk, and you used that knowledge. You relied on it. You believed it made you untouchable. The girl has no response. The truth of Judy's words sits in the air like smoke, impossible to ignore. Sarah, the victim, watches from her seat, her expression a complex mixture of emotions. Anger, yes, but also something unexpected. Recognition. The recognition that the person who hurt her was also, in her own way, a victim. Not of circumstance, but of conditioning. Of a father who taught her that love meant protection from reality. Judy sets the ethics document aside and addresses the entire courtroom. This case began as a dispute between two individuals. It has become something larger. Examination of how privilege corrupts, how power isolates, and how the children of the powerful are often the most damaged by the very protections meant to shield them. The mayor's daughter looks up, tears streaming freely now. What happens now? She asks. What happens to me? Judy's expression softens, but her voice remains firm. What happens now is accountability. Not the kind your father tried to buy you. Real accountability. The kind that doesn't erase what you've done, but gives you a chance to become someone different. She picks up her ruling pad, pen poised. The court orders the following. The girl holds her breath. First, a formal fine of $5,000 to be paid directly to Miss Sarah Reynolds for emotional distress and public humiliation. Asterisk, Sarah's eyes widen slightly, but she nods. Second, 100 hours of community service to be completed at locations approved by this court. Locations where you will interact with people from all walks of life, where your father's name means nothing, and where kindness will be required, not optional. The girl's chin quivers. Third, mandatory counseling. Not as punishment, but as intervention. You will work with a licensed therapist to address the beliefs and behaviors that brought you here today. This is not negotiable. The girl nods slowly, accepting. And finally, Judy pauses, her gaze locking with the girl's. You will issue a public apology, not drafted by lawyers. Asterisk, not polished by your father's communications team. Written by you. Delivered by you. Specific about the harm you caused and sincere in its acknowledgement. The girl wipes her eyes. I will, I promise. Judy studies her for a long moment, searching for something in her expression. Honesty, perhaps. Or the potential for it. Then she sets down her pen. Justice is not about vengeance, she says. It's about responsibility accepted and empathy realized. Today you have the opportunity to move toward both. Don't waste it. The girl nods again, more firmly this time. I won't. I can't go back to being who I was. I don't even know who that person was anymore. Judy rises slightly, her presence filling the room. There is one more step. The girl lifts her head, bracing herself. Stand, Judy instructs, and face the woman you harmed. Your apology begins now. The mayor's daughter rises on trembling legs. Every eye in the courtroom watches as she turns to face Sarah, the cashier who came to court expecting to be dismissed and instead witnessed the collapse of the system that protected her tormentor. Asterisk. The distance between them feels enormous and impossibly small at the same time. The girl opens her mouth, closes it, tries again. The words that emerge are broken, halting, but unmistakably real. I'm sorry. Not the polished, lawyer-approved sorry she was probably taught to offer. A raw, fractured apology from someone who is finally learning what the word actually means. Sarah watches her, tears in her own eyes now. The woman who made her feel worthless is standing before her, shattered and sincere. And in that moment, something shifts. Not forgiveness. Not yet, maybe not ever. But understanding. The beginning of a bridge between two people who will never be friends but might someday be free. Judge Judy watches this exchange with an expression that holds no triumph, only the quiet satisfaction of truth finally spoken. When she speaks again, her voice carries the weight of finality. This hearing is concluded, but the work for both of you is just beginning. The gavel falls, not with a crash, but with a soft, decisive tap, a sound that marks an ending and a beginning all at once. The mayor's daughter doesn't rush out. She doesn't demand her father's lawyers. She stands in the center of the courtroom, surrounded by the wreckage of her old life, and for the first time, she faces the possibility of building something new, something real, something human. And in the silence that follows, something that looked almost like hope begins to take root where arrogance once lived.